Canada, a land of vast forests, mighty rivers, and ancient peoples. But long before it became the peaceful nation we know today, it was the stage of an epic rivalry, a clash between two empires, France and Britain. Their struggle would span centuries, ignite wars across continents, and shape the soul of a nation. This is the story of the founding of Canada, born from ambition, blood, and survival. It begins in 1534. French explorer Jacques Cartier sails into the Gulf of St. Lawrence, greeted by the salty wind and the curious gaze of the St. Lawrence Iroquoians. He plants a cross in the soil and claims the land for France. But France doesn't return in full force until 1608, when Samuel de Champlain, the father of New France, founds a settlement on the cliffs of Quebec. It's humble, a few wooden buildings, harsh winters, and constant danger. But it marks the beginning of a colony that will grow into the heart of French Canada. The French don't come for gold, they come for fur. Beaver pelts, soft, durable, and in high demand in Europe, become the currency of empire. Alliances are forged with indigenous nations like the Huron-Wendat, not just for trade, but for survival. But this cozy, French indigenous alliance has enemies. While the French build trading posts, Britain watches. The British Empire is growing hungry too. In 1610, the English settle in Newfoundland, then Nova Scotia, then Hudson Bay. The Hudson's Bay Company, chartered in 1670, becomes one of the most powerful corporations in the world, and a direct challenge to France's grip on the fur trade. Now, it's not just about beavers and maps, it's about global dominance. And the indigenous nations, they are not passive spectators. They are skilled diplomats and fierce warriors, choosing sides, shifting alliances, and fighting for their own survival as European ambitions engulf their lands. Then comes the fire. From 1689 to 1763, a series of conflicts erupts, the French and Indian Wars, as they're called in the US, or more formally, the Intercolonial Wars. The last and most decisive of these is the 7 Years' War, the first true world war, fought in Europe, the Caribbean, India, and Canada. In 1759, the war reaches its climax on the Plains of Abraham, just outside Quebec City. Two armies face off. On one side, British General James Wolfe. On the other, French General Louis-Joseph de Montcalm. The battle lasts less than 30 minutes. Both generals die. Quebec falls. A year later, Montreal surrenders. And in 1763, the Treaty of Paris ends the war. France gives up almost all of its North American territories. Britain takes control of New France. But the question remains, what kind of Canada will this be? With the French defeated, you might think the British now ruled unopposed. But that's not the case. Inside the former New France lived over 60,000 French Canadians, farmers, priests, merchants, people with their own language, laws, and Catholic faith. Would they be assimilated? Or could two cultures share one land? The British, wary of rebellion, especially with the American colonies to the south growing restless, passed the Quebec Act of 1774. It's revolutionary. French civil law is maintained. Catholicism is protected. French Canadians are allowed to keep their identity under British rule. To the Americans, this is intolerable. To the French Canadians, it's survival. It's one of the earliest moments where the Canadian ideal, unity in diversity, begins to take shape. Meanwhile, waves of British loyalists fleeing the American Revolution arrive in what's now Ontario. Tensions brew between the English-speaking newcomers and the French-speaking majority in Quebec. In 1791, Britain splits the land in two: Upper Canada for the English, Lower Canada for the French. It's not unity, it's division, but it plants the seeds of the two solitudes that will echo through Canadian history. Still, both colonies remain British, and both know they must eventually find a way to coexist. Through rebellion, reform, and confederation, they will try. But that is a story for another time. The founding of Canada was not one moment, not one date. It was a slow, uncertain dance across rivers and forests, through war and peace, between empire and colony. It was the story of French ambition, British might, and Indigenous resilience. It was not clean, it was not fair, but it was real. Canada, this mosaic of cultures, was forged in the fire of struggle. And in that struggle, a nation began to emerge. Not as one people, but as many peoples, united by the challenge of living together on shared land. History is not just about what happened, it's about how we remember it. And Canada remembers, in two languages with many voices. This was just the beginning.